If I'm going to be away from the house for more than just a few hours, it is pretty much guaranteed I'm going to have my iPad and my laptop with me. Maybe you're the same way, but maybe it's a Kindle. Maybe it's a book. In today's video, I'm going to make a sleeve for my iPad. This could double as a sleeve for a Kindle, a book, or many other things. Now, my old computer bag had a separate space inside that protected my iPad. I love my new one, but it doesn't have that separate space. That's why I'm making this sleeve today. Now, this video is going to be very beginner friendly. We're going to talk a little bit about zippers and interfacing, things like that. But let me show you quickly what I'll use in today's video. To make my iPad sleeve, I'm going to use this sweet fabric. Now, maybe you can see there's little bits of green in this fabric, and I want to play off that green in choosing my lining fabric. Now, I could go with the safe choice, and I could go with the solid green, but I don't love solid fabric colors, so I'll probably go with this fun polka dot instead. I'm also going to use a green zipper. Now, I haven't made a final decision on my thread color yet, so it'll either be green, light pink, or medium pink. We're going to talk about how I make the decision in the video. I'm also going to use some sewing clips, but pins would be fine. I have some fusible fleece. I have some lightweight interfacing. I also have my mini iron, my clapper, and my wool pressing mat. Now, one more thing, and I didn't bring it up because if you're a beginner, I didn't want to scare you off, but I'm going to use my zipper foot. You don't have to use a zipper foot on these. I've made plenty of pouches without it, but if you have a zipper foot, I'll show you how you can use this as well. I have my materials all cut, prepped, and ready to go. So let me show you what we're working with. I have 2 pieces of the outside fabric, and look, I put my name on it with my embroidery machine. And then I have 2 pieces of the lining fabric. The sizes on these are slightly different. So for the main fabric, or the outside fabric, I cut this at 12.5 inches wide and 9 inches tall. For the lining fabric, I still cut it at 12.5 inches wide, but I cut it at 8 3/4 inches tall. That's going to help reduce the bulk in the bottom of the iPad sleeve. Now let me show you the backs. So on each of these pieces of fabric, all 4 pieces of fabric, I have a fusible interfacing that goes edge to edge, so it's cut the same size as the fabric. And then I also have fusible fleece. Now the fusible fleece was cut 1 inch narrower and 1 inch shorter. That leaves a 1/2 inch gap all the way around. That way I'm not sewing through the fusible fleece. I've made this iPad sleeve 3 or 4 times. The first time I had the fusible fleece all the way to the edges, and it really made it bumpy, lumpy, just too much bulk in the seams. The reason I'm using the fusible fleece is it's going to be a really good protection for my iPad. If you're making this for a book sleeve, you probably don't need this fusible fleece. Also, let's talk about this interfacing. The only reason I'm using that fusible interfacing is so that there's more for the stitches to grab onto. This fabric's very thin, and I just wanted a little more stability. This is a lightweight interfacing. It drapes nicely. It doesn't add bulk. It really doesn't add structure. Again, I just put it in there so that the stitches have more to grab onto. Now, if you want links for the interfacing, the fleece, I'll put those in the video description below. Now, as far as thread color goes, I had 3 options. I had what's on my machine. This is a very light pink, and it blends in really nicely with the fabric. I also thought about using this green, and I don't know if it'll show up on camera, but that sticks out a little bit. Then lastly, I have this beautiful bright pink, and that would stick out a little bit too. Now, the only place that your thread is going to show is when we do a top stitch along the top of each side. So it's not going to show a lot, but if you can sew a really straight line and you want a pop of color, I'd use one of these. For me, I don't sew super straight, so I want this light pink one that just blends in. So the first stitches that we do are going to be to attach the zipper to the fabrics. Let's go ahead and start with the front of the iPad sleeve, the one with my name on it. I'm going to call this the pretty side, the right side, the correct side, something like that, all through the video. And what I mean when I say that is the side you want facing out. And actually this liner, it's going to be facing inside the bag, but when you open the bag, you're going to see it. So I call this the right side, the correct side, and then I call the back side, well, I don't even talk about the back side. When I'm doing some type of zipper pouch, or in this case an iPad sleeve, I like to have my zipper go from left to right. So this is the front. I'm going to put this pull to the left. To attach this to my bag though, I need to flip it over. So I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to sew along this top edge. Now we're going to do a couple of things before then. But let's start by putting the zipper where I want it. I like to have this end where there's no bulk, even with this end here. You can go with a zipper that is the exact correct length. You can go with a zipper that's too long. These are nylon teeth and you can easily cut those down. You can also go over them slowly with your sewing machine. Now I love to use these pink clips. If you prefer pins, that's fine as well. So we are going to have this even with the top, and we're going to have one of our pieces of lining also even at the top. So pretty side to pretty side. Now I have some basting tape. Let me show you how you would use that. This is a wash away basting tape and it's sticky on both sides, but one side is covered over with a piece of paper, kind of a real smooth piece of paper. So I'm going to cut this at the length I want it, or a little bit longer, that would be fine. And the purpose of the basting tape is just to keep this stable while you're sewing it, or while you're putting it together even. Some people actually use a basting stitch along the top, then they add their liner to it. I'm going to sew all 3 layers at one time, and I'm going to use this basting tape. Okay. Let me go ahead and start it peeling back, because once it's on fabric, it becomes harder to do this. So there's the basting tape. We are going to put it along the very top of the fabric. Again, this will wash away, but I want to keep it at the very top so that it doesn't show, because I'm probably not going to be washing this anytime soon. Okay, so I have it started. Now I'm just going to go ahead and place this along the fabric. And once I've done that, I can go ahead and peel this top layer off. Let's go ahead and trim this down though. Now that this sticky side is also exposed, I'll put my zipper back down on it. So remember, the zipper, I want the pull to the left. So I'm going to keep the pull over here. And I'm going to have this where it's very flush or even with the top of my fabric. So we have the fabric, we have the basting tape, and we have the zipper tape all even at the top, or fairly even. Let me turn this around so I can actually see it. Now we need to add the lining fabric to it. So we're going to put it face down. And before I do that, I'll put another piece of basting tape right here. Now we'll just line this lining up with it. Again, having it all flush at the top and even on the sides. Okay, that looks good. So let's go ahead and press that down. And then I'm just going to remove the extra basting tape. So at this time, we're ready to take this to the machine. I'm going to use my zipper foot, so I need to get that on my machine. I'm going to sew this at a stitch length of 2.5, and I'm going to use the auto tension setting. One thing I need to do before I sew this, well, let me look. Okay, actually that's probably far enough up that it's out of the way. But let me show you how you would do this if you don't have this well beyond your fabric. You would go ahead and open the zipper some because you don't want to try to sew by it. So I'm going to open this zipper quite a ways. Before I get to the zipper, I'm going to stop, have the needle down, lift my presser foot, and then close that zipper up. You'll see that when I do it. Now, let's go ahead and add just a few clips. Is mine perfect? It is not, but it's going to be fine. Also, I like to add a couple of clips down here just to kind of help keep that in place. Now let's take a look at this, inspect it, make sure it looks good. I have a little gap there. Let's go ahead and let that lay down the way it should. I'll get my presser foot changed out to my zipper foot. Then we're just going to do a nice straight stitch there. And I'm going to add a second clip side by side, and that's my clue that I'm getting close to the zipper. To change out the presser foot on my machine, I just push down on the front of this foot. It pops out, and then it just comes out very easily. Now let me show you, if you're not familiar with this, in presser feet, there's a little bar there. And on my machine, that bar goes right up into this little groove. On my zipper foot, so that you can have it on either side, there's 2 bars in there. Hopefully you can see that as well. You have 1 bar here, whoops, and 1 bar, if you'll stand up, 1 bar right there. So I want to have my presser foot attached on this side so that I can sew really close to the zipper over here. Now I'm not going to sew that close, but that is the theory behind a zipper foot. So to put that on, I'm going to go ahead and place that under where it attaches to. Let me lift this up a little bit more, and then I'm going to let it come down on top of that. Okay, there we go. Now, is it attached? I don't think it's attached yet. Nope. It is resting where it needs to be, but to get it attached, I push down right here and it's going to click into place. Now it's attached. So let's go ahead and get working on our zipper. Now my open end is right here. So I'm going to be sewing this way on the lining side. You can sew on either side, but I need to start down here where it's open. So let's go ahead and move this over a little bit. Also, hopefully you can see on this machine that there's a center point in this foot. You also have the right side and the left side. So I often use those marks to try to keep my stitching straight. Now in my case today, I'm going to actually have this side of the presser foot go right along this. So I'm not sewing as close as I could to those teeth, but again, that's the theory behind a zipper foot. So let's see if it's where I want it. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to start by coming forward. I'll do a little back stitch and then we'll sew all the way down this. All right, now that we're getting somewhat close to that zipper, the zipper pull, let me go ahead and have the needle down, lift my presser foot up, and then maybe I can show you what I'm doing here. Let's go ahead and move that down and take this off. So I want to expose my zipper pull. Hopefully you can see it right there. Now I'm going to pull that past the presser foot. So I'm going to hold on to it down here. Just zip it past. Then we can put our presser foot right back down and keep sewing. Now let's go ahead and open this up, see what it looks like. And let's go ahead and zip it all the way. And we have the front half of our iPad sleeve. In a little bit, we'll iron this, we'll top stitch it, but we're going to do the other side first. We're going to do it exactly like we did this. Now I do want to finger press this and get it out of the way. We're going to put the pretty side, or the right side, the correct side, down against the pretty side of the front of the iPad sleeve. We're going to line it up with the top of the zipper. This time I'm not going to use the basting tape. I think I'm fine without it. We're going to put our other piece of lining pretty side up because we want pretty side of it against the pretty side of the other piece of lining. So I'm just going to line all these up and clip them together. So we're going to sew in this direction again. I'll have the right side of my presser foot against the side of this. My zipper is all the way down here. It's probably far enough that I don't have to worry about opening it up, but I'll probably go ahead and stop maybe about here, open it, and then sew on the rest of the way. I went ahead and I sewed all the way down this side. I did move the zipper to the middle when I did it. I went on to the next step. I ironed, I pressed, I did my top stitches, and then I saw that my camera had turned off. So I went ahead and ripped out the top stitches. We're going to pick up where we left off. So here's how it looked once I sewed down this side. We'll go ahead and take those clips off again. We're going to go ahead and open it up so you see both sides of the green. Let's go ahead and flip it over. Open this up so you see both sides of the pink. And now we're going to top stitch along both sides of the zipper. Now before you top stitch, you want to press this. You want it to look nice and neat. So I have my wool pressing mat, and I'm going to start on the back side. I have my little mini iron. That's what I'm going to use today. And then I also have a clapper. So the clapper is for when you press something, you take your iron off, you press it down, put some pressure against your fabric, and that really sets the press in nicely. On the back side, I'm just going to press on both sides at once. I'll hold it on there for just about 3, 4, 5 seconds. Then I'll move up. Then I'm going to put this clapper on. Now when I do the front side though, I'm not going to put the iron across those teeth. So I'll do one side at a time. Now that we have it all pressed and nice, it's time to top stitch, and we're going to top stitch down both sides. I'm going to have my stitch length adjusted to 3.5. I'm not going to back stitch, I'm just going to go straight. My fabric doesn't meet up perfectly down here, but I think it's going to turn out great anyway. To do my top stitching, I went ahead and opened the zipper some, and I put a clip here, and I have a clip down here as well. What I'm going to do is have the center of the foot, hopefully you can see where that center line is, pretty much right here on the edge of the fabric. My needle's to the left of it, so my top stitch is going to be just right along here somewhere. That's just personal preference. You can put it where you want it, but that's where I like it. Let's go ahead and put our needle down so I can see if I'm in the right place. And I'm actually further over than I want to be. I have this camera right in front of my face, so it's kind of hard to see my fabric. That looks pretty good. We'll go with it there. So I'm just a little bit left of where the fabric meets the zipper tape. I have my stitch length set at 3.5, and I still have the auto tension on. Now I'm not going to go forward and back stitch. This really isn't holding weight, it's just decorative, and it also helps to keep your fabric out of your zipper. All right, we're getting close enough to that zipper, or the zipper pull. So have the needle down and then just go ahead and slide this by your zipper foot. Now is where this project really starts coming together. What we're going to do is we're going to pull the two pieces of outside fabric together. And for now, we're just going to line up the corners. This might have to be adjusted later, but this is what I like to do. So we're going to line up all four corners, clip them together, and then we're going to spend a lot of time at the zipper area. I feel like if you get that zipper area right, everything else is going to be fine. So let's go ahead and look at the zipper area. When I'm sewing something like this, I like to have the zipper teeth go toward the lining fabric. So I'm going to use this finger and just push it that way, and then just kind of pinch it down. I also want to try to have my two outside fabrics line up as best as I can. So let's go ahead and put a pin on this side, and we're going to go ahead and pin this side. Now let's flip it and look at this one. I want to open this. If I do the next step, if I put the next stitches in and this isn't open, I'm going to have a disaster because I'm not going to be able to turn my project right side out. So before these next stitches, make sure that zipper's open quite a ways. Okay, so just like last time, I'm pushing my zipper teeth toward the lining side. I'm going to try to line them up pretty well. Hopefully this is a decent view. Then I want to line up the pink pieces pretty well. And then again, I'll put a clip on both sides. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and remove these clips because I don't have to have the corners exactly together. I'd rather have smooth sides. So we're just going to smooth this out and clip down the side. We'll smooth this out, clip down the side, and then clip along the bottom. And if you have some bumps or buckles in it, if it doesn't come together quite right, make your adjustments until everything feels the way you need it to feel. Now, these should meet fairly well. They're off a little bit. That is not a problem at all. Let's go ahead and turn it and do the same thing on the lining side. Now we are almost done. We have this last seam to sew, and then we have to sew up the lining. With this next stitch, you want to make sure that you leave an opening down here on the lining side. So you don't want to sew all the way around. You want an opening here. You're going to use that to put your hand in and turn it right side out. So I'm going to leave a pretty big gap. You can mark it if you want to. If you're afraid you might forget, it's not a bad idea to do that. So for this stitch, I'm going to start here. I'm going to go do a little back stitch, go all the way around, come back down, turn here, stop, do a little back stitch, take the clips off, and then we're going to turn it right side out. And actually I'm going to start on this side and go that way. I went ahead and changed out my presser foot to my regular foot, and on my machine, this line right here marks 3/8 of an inch for your seam allowance. Remember, I left a gap between the fusible fleece and the edge of a 1/2 inch. So if I use 3/8 of an inch, it should sew right along this side. So I'm going to try to have my fabric stay even with that. Here's the line, here's my fabric, so that looks good. Let's go ahead and put my needle down in. I'll drop my presser foot, and I'm sewing all the way around. When you get to the corner, leave your needle down, lift your presser foot, and then turn your fabric. And I'm too far over, so I'm going to go back, put my presser foot back down, and then I'm just going to hand crank for one more stitch. All right, that's lined up much better. Now that I'm close to the zipper, I want to go ahead and get a little closer. And then with this machine, I could just hand crank past this. But let me show you, if yours doesn't, go ahead and put the needle down, lift your foot, and then you can put a little tool like this under there. Go ahead and put the presser foot back down. Now it should easily go over that hump. I've cleaned up my excess thread. Now what I want to do is what's called clipping the corners or cutting the corners. I don't want to cut too close to where my thread is, but I do want to get rid of some of this bulk. That's going to help those corners stick out really nicely once we turn this. So I'll do all 4 corners. Then we're going to come back and we're going to trim down this zipper. If you want to, you could take some pinking shears now and clean this up even more. But I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. Now, you do not want to use your good scissors to do this. Don't use your fabric scissors. So now we are going to place our hand in here. Remember that zipper is open inside. It's open all the way to here. I'm going to push in a corner and grab it. And then we're just going to start pulling this through. So what I like to do is I like to go ahead and have the pretty fabric separate from the lining because I want to go ahead and poke out the corners of the pretty fabric and the lining. So I'm just going to use my hand. If I need to, I can use a chopstick or something, but that's a really nice sharp corner. We'll do the same here. And let's go ahead and open the zipper the rest of the way. I want to go ahead and poke out what I can here. And I still have some extra thread to trim off. Okay, let's move on to this corner. And then lastly, we'll get this corner. I think that's taken shape really nicely. Now the very last stitches that we need to do is to close this up. So if you pull on those, and this is why we did back stitching, because you are putting a decent amount of pressure on those. But if you pull on these, that's going to want to come together pretty naturally. So what I'm going to do is iron this, then I'm going to put it under my machine, and I'm just going to sew right along here. You could just do where the opening is. I like to go past that. If you wanted to close this up with something like heat and bond or stitch witchery, you could do that as well. I just like to put the stitches in there. I feel like it makes it sturdier. Now I could change out my thread color because I have pink and this is on green, but it's just going to be at the bottom of the bag. It's going to be fine. So I'm trying to stay really close to the edge, but I want to make sure that I do catch both sides of the fabric. Here's what that looks like. And now that that's done, we can go ahead and just push this down inside. And then we're going to work around the zipper to try to make it look as nice as possible. Now, if you don't use zipper tabs where you have the fabric on both sides, these zippers kind of get sucked down into the bag or the iPad sleeve. I don't mind that look. I don't really love the look of the zipper tabs, the extra fabric that goes here. So I just deal with seeing a little bit of that zipper sucked down in there. It's still going to look great. Now on this side, let's go ahead and close the zipper a little bit, and then I want to push up there to get that out as far as I can. That looks good. And let's go ahead and push the liner all the way down in the corners. And we are done with our iPad sleeve. Isn't that pretty? The zipper looks good. I'm really happy with that zipper. I have a little bit of thread to trim there, but I love this. I'm going to press this and then we'll be done. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, comments, or even suggestions for me, leave them in the comment section below. Also remember, I'm going to put the links to the interfacing and the fusible fleece in the video description below. So thanks again for joining me, and I hope to see you in my next video.